Jessie Ware, hello, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really good. So a really busy time for you at the moment. It's kind of into one taxi, out of another taxi. Doing your big radio tour at the moment to promote the new single must be just great and almost a relief that people can now hear your music.
Yeah, it felt like I've been away from the UK for ages because my first album came out 2 years ago. And then I was in the States quite a lot touring, and so it feels really nice to be kind of tapping back into like the UK and talking about my music and having new music to talk about. So yeah.
I guess it's kind of a different kind of anxiety from when you first bring out an album and thinking, what are people going to think of it? Once they've heard that first one, you're on to number two. It must be like people wondering where's she gone. So it's like, is there almost a rush process because I want to get it out to them?
I mean, I'm quite impatient anyway, but I feel like I could have had it out earlier this year. I would have been happy to, but I think the thing that meant that it took longer was because it was I released it later in the UK. I mean, in America, the last album, but I was raring to go, and I was really ready to be writing whilst I was on tour, because by the end of it I was a bit like, oh my god, I'm sick of all the I love my songs on the first record, but I was like, please, can I just write some new ones? So yeah, I'm quite impatient, so I was raring to go for a new album.
And after the great reaction of album number one, it must have been just brilliant for you and probably led to that impatience to want people to hear more of what was obviously already in your head.
Yeah, it's definitely been really nice having an audience to think of with this album, and like I didn't have an audience when I made my first record. I didn't know who they were, and just touring has really made me like have a relationship with my fans, and that's gorgeous, and that's what it's all about. So having them in mind whilst I was writing this album was really nice.
The new album is Tough Love, and the latest single, Say You Love Me. What can we expect from this one?
It's a ballad, and it's a song that I'm incredibly proud of. I wrote it with Ed Sheeran, and it was the last song I wrote for the record, and I guess it's showing a bit more of my voice. I feel like the first single that I put out, which was Tough Love, was showing this kind of higher register of what I was doing, and then this one is, I guess, a bit more direct, a bit more like a kind of classic love song.
What was it like working with Ed?
Wicked. He's amazing. He's so generous. Learnt loads from him. He's so talented, and I don't think many people would expect Ed and I to work together necessarily, but he's such a prolific songwriter. It was so easy to work with him, and sometimes it's not that easy to write with people, it's quite a difficult personal thing, and sometimes like the chemistry isn't right in the room, and it felt right with Ed. He was amazing.
And you do have to have that chemistry, don't you? Because there must be an amount of personal pride. You don't know, my idea is the best.
Yeah, I mean, I rely on collaborating with people because I don't play any instruments, so I know what I want, and I'll know when I hear it, and I also know what I don't like. But also, you're working with somebody else, and there's got to be a respect there where you feel like you can both say when you think an idea is great, but also accept somebody else's idea. And sometimes that just doesn't work together. But that's why I work with all the same people from my first record, because I love them so much. And then, added extras such as Ed and Miguel and other people like that. But it's a funny old thing, songwriting.
And that must show how you've progressed, because you say you've still got some of the same team, but being able to have these people who have heard your music and now say, well, we want to be on board with Jessie Ware. Yeah,
it was definitely a lovely thing the second time round, having people kind of saying they were up for working with me, when I think I was like a no-name at the beginning, and people don't maybe necessarily want to take a chance. And so it was lovely to have an album under my belt that I felt like people would, after hearing that, were like, yeah, I want to work with her, which, it's a really big compliment and really, really, really reassuring.
And when we first heard some of your music coming out, the song Running, it was in my head. It was one of those songs that you just keep playing and playing and playing. Is there a song that you can kind of pinpoint on the new album where you think that's going to have the same kind of contagious effect?
I'd like to think Say You Love Me will have that. I think it's a slow burner where it's kind of, I think you need to hear it a few times and then it's in your head, and my makeup artist heard it once, and then she was singing it the whole, next times we see each other, she'd just be like, and so I think, it's one that sticks in your head. But also this one that I did with Miguel was really, really fun, called Kind of Sometimes Maybe. And then there's another one called Champagne Kisses, which is just very, very catchy and supposed to be quite flirtatious and silly.
And what starts as just an idea to then have it as a record just must be a great, a huge amount of pride when you hear that song recorded and ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's something really satisfying about when you get the finished product. You go through so many different kind of stages with it. You write it, you live with it, you think about it, you think, oh, okay, what we're going to change, you think about the production, then the vocal delivery, then sometimes you want to strip production away, and then you've got the whole mixing aspect, which I'm really involved in, and you have it in your head how you want it, and yeah, it's a long process, but yeah, it's amazing when you've got it there finished.
And I know you've said it before, but you're just trying to realise that now it's your time to be Jessie Ware, the solo artist that everybody starts to know, and that must be a weird thing to get your head around. It
took me a while to kind of accept that this was my job, and that I could call this my job, and I love it, and it's really lovely to be coming back and having, I live a very normal life, but sometimes you get those kind of pop star moments where people kind of recognise you and you're like, oh, really? Do they recognise me? And then they'll come up and they'll speak to you, and it's just the sweetest thing. And so, yes, it's a weird old world, but it's a lovely world that I've experienced so far being a singer.
And going out gigging must be just another experience altogether, which is huge. You're off to Berlin this weekend, which would be a brilliant experience.
The gigging bit is really... I was quite nervous at the beginning when I started performing live, because I'd been a backing singer before that, so kind of... Or I'd just been singing on dance records where you pop in and out of a DJ's set. So trying to host, 45 minutes with your own material with people that don't know you and don't know your songs. Maybe they know one song that you've done before that you're not even going to sing in those 45 minutes. It was weird at the beginning, but now it's something that it's the best feeling in the world. You have everyone singing your songs and smiling and being happy, and it's very generous, and I'm very lucky to be able to experience that on the other side. I am an audience I'm going to see Kate Bush in 2 weeks, and I love going to watch live music, and I know how it feels to be on that side, but having lots of smiling faces looking at you and you're singing on your own up there, there's nothing quite like it.
Is there a certain gig or venue that you'd love to play?
Well, I'm playing Brixton Academy, which is in London, and that's something that I've really wanted to do, and so that's a massive thing for me. I'd like to do the Royal Albert Hall, that would be lovely. And in America, I'd quite like to do the Greek Theatre, which looks kind of like a fake amphitheatre. That'd be fun. But yeah, I'm just happy with whoever will take me, I'll play. And
I guess you talk about a Greek amphitheatre, you can imagine your music in there, because there is something very atmospheric about your music and your sound, which would just be, I think we should get that gig done.
Yeah, I just need to sell a few more records and then maybe I'll be there.
And obviously, you mentioned Kate Bush, you've worked with Ed Sheeran. Are these the kind of people who inspire you in terms of...
Yeah, I mean, Kate Bush has been a massive inspiration for me, which I didn't kind of realise until I started being like, make it a bit more Kate Bush. Should we do a bit more Kate Bush? And then now she's playing and I can't wait to see her. And then Ed, Ed and I are kind of from different worlds, I feel like. We entered this music industry in different kind of worlds and stages. And so for me, it's just so special to be able to learn from my peer. Like, he's ridiculously talented. He's younger than me. He's so successful, and I could learn a lot from him and his songwriting. And then working with Miguel, who is a massive soul R&B star in the States, who wanted to work with me, and you're in the room writing a song for yourself, and Miguel is helping you write that. It's just it's like slightly pinch yourself moments.
And we've talked about like development from, say, album number 1 to album number 2, and all this again working with people who kind of from different genres.
Yeah.
For album number 3, that's all going to come again. You're just going to be just continuing to experiment. I guess that's something you're really open to.
Yeah, I think so, because I rely on collaborating, until I learn that piano or guitar, and I love it, and I love that I can work with people like Disclosure and Julia Bashmore, and then Ed Sheeran, and then I can work with somebody who I adore from an old Glaswegian band called the Blue Nile from the 80s, a guy called Paul Buchanan. It's like I feel like it's very open with who I can work with, and I love that.
And is learning a musical instrument something that's on the list?
Yeah, I've got a new pianist in my band, so we've made a deal where I'm going to make him do the Insanity workout, because he was like, I need to stay fit on tour. I was like, okay, cool, well, we'll do Insanity, or we'll do like workouts. And then he was like, okay, I'll give you piano lessons. So there.
Sounds like a deal.
Yeah.
Jessie, we wish you all the best of luck with the new album, the new single. Would you like to introduce it for us?
Yes, okay. Hi, I'm Jessie Ware, and this is my new single, Say You Love Me. Say